All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are diving deep into the world of Taylor Swift.
Oh, exciting.
I know, right? We're focusing on her record-breaking Eras tour.
It's huge.
I know, it's massive. And also, that genius move she pulled re-recording all those early albums.
So smart.
Okay, so we'll be looking at why the Eras tour is, like, next level, more than just your typical concerts.
Really is.
It's like a cultural phenomenon. We're also going to be talking about the whole re-recording strategy
Mm,
and how it's basically like shaking up the music industry.
yeah, big time.
And of course, we have to talk about how Taylor connects with her
Oh,
fans.
she's amazing at that.
She is. Like, it's on another level.
Seriously, the way she's built her career, it's like she's got this crazy commercial success, but she also has so much control over her art.
That's such a good point. Okay, let's start with the Eras Tour.
Okay.
It's on track to be like the highest grossing tour of all time.
Yeah, I think it's going to surpass Elton John's The Farewell Yellow Brick Road.
Which is insane. But it's not just about, sold out stadiums.
Oh.
There's something deeper, something else going on here.
It's definitely the way she structured the tour, as this journey through her eras.
Yes.
It's brilliant. I mean, think about it. It's tapping into this,
Nostalgia.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our love for nostalgia, right? It lets fans relive all the different phases of her career, like both musically and visually.
And fans are dressing up, like in outfits from their like favorite Taylor Swift era.
Oh, yeah.
It makes the whole experience so immersive, like you're stepping back in time with all these other fans.
It's amazing. It's like creating this really intense feeling of connection, not just with Taylor, but with all the other fans there.
Totally, totally. And then on top of all that, there's the element of surprise. Every concert has a few like unique surprise songs.
Keeps you guessing.
Right. Which makes each show feel unique and special. So do you think this is becoming like a trend among other artists?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of artists are realizing they need to find more creative ways to engage with the audience, break down those barriers, and those surprise songs, the interactions, they make it a way more intimate experience.
Yeah, and it's like she's figured out how to make stadium concerts feel small and personal,
Yes.
which is insane. And oh, speaking of making things feel big, we have to talk about the production value of this tour.
It's huge.
The costumes, the stage design, the pyrotechnics. It's a spectacle.
It's like a theatrical production. It's insane. And for her to reach this level of success, it's really challenging the landscape for women in music, especially when it comes to touring. Like, this isn't easy to do, and she's breaking barriers.
It's inspiring. Okay, so let's talk about another bold move, the decision to re-record her first 6 albums.
Okay.
So for anyone who might not like totally know the music industry's inner workings, this all stems from her original masters being sold without her consent. So can you kind of break down like what masters are and why this was a big deal for her?
Okay, so basically masters are like the original recordings of a song.
Yeah.
And if you own them, you control how the music gets used and how you profit from it. So for someone like Taylor Swift, who writes and performs her music,
Right.
losing control of those masters meant losing control over her artistic legacy.
Wow, so she took matters into her own hands.
She did.
She re-recorded those first 6 albums, essentially creating new masters that she owned.
Boom. Taking back control.
Talk about a power move.
It was a brilliant strategy, and it totally sent shockwaves through the industry. It really brought up this issue of artists' rights, especially in the digital age.
Yeah.
And she didn't just re-record them note for note. She included from the vault tracks,
Ooh.
songs that didn't make the original album.
So fans are getting nostalgia, but also new material.
Exactly.
We've got Fearless Taylor's version, Red Taylor's version, Speak Now Taylor's version, and 1989 Taylor's version. They're all charting so high.
Incredible.
Red Taylor's version debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. Wow. And of course, we can't forget about that 10-minute version of All Too Well. The internet went crazy.
Oh, it did. And you know what? Those from the vault tracks are so cool.
Yep.
Because they give you this little glimpse into her creative process and how she's evolved as a songwriter. It's like getting bonus chapters of her musical autobiography.
Ooh, I like that.
And the fact that she owns the re-recordings means she has complete creative control over them, how they're used, marketed. It's huge.
Yeah, it's incredible. And other artists are following suit, like JoJo. They're re-recording their old work to regain control. It's like Taylor created a ripple effect.
She really did. She's proving that artists have options. They can take control of their own careers. you know.
And the Swifties are amazing.
The best.
They're so dedicated. They're actively buying and streaming the re-recordings, like making a statement.
Totally.
Yeah.
It shows how deep her connection with her fans really is. Like, they understand what she's doing, and they support it.
It's amazing. And, when you think about it, she's come a long way from those country music roots.
A long way.
And her impact is way beyond just music. She's been a huge advocate for fair artist compensation from streaming services.
Yeah.
Remember when she pulled her music from Spotify back in 2014?
Oh, yeah.
That was bold.
That was huge.
Can you remind us, what that was all about?
Yeah, so back then, like when streaming first started to get popular, the rates that they paid artists were so low.
Yeah.
And Keller was like, nope, this is not fair. And she pulled her music from Spotify, which was the biggest platform at the time.
Wow.
It was a power move. And it really forced the industry to look at the issue of artist compensation in this new streaming era.
It really brought it to life. And beyond all that, she's like a master of fan engagement.
Oh, she's the queen.
She connects with her fans in such meaningful ways. It's not just about the music, it's the whole experience.
Absolutely. I mean, she hides Easter eggs in music videos. She has secret listening sessions for fans. She writes handwritten letters. I mean, come on.
It's next level.
It is.
Yeah.
Not to mention, her TikTok game is strong.
Oh my God, yes.
She's so strategic.
She's always ahead of the curve.
She gets it. She understands that it's about building a genuine connection.
Yeah.
Giving fans something special, something they feel a part of.
And that's why the Swifties are so loyal. And we can't forget about her advocacy for social and political causes. She's spoken out against misogyny in the music industry.
Yes.
Encouraged her fans to register to vote, and she's been a vocal supporter of LGBTQ+ rights.
She's incredible.
It's clear that she sees her platform as a way to make a difference.
She's using her voice to amplify these really important issues, and she's inspiring millions of fans to do the same. That's real power.
Okay, so we've talked about the Eras Tour, her re-recordings, her impact that goes beyond music. So where do you think things go from here? What does the future hold for Taylor Swift?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know, right?
It's hard to say, but she's a master strategist. She's always thinking a few steps ahead, pushing those boundaries.
Yeah, and she's a savvy businesswoman.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's dive into her songwriting next.
Okay, let's do it.
I think we need to unpack how she's evolved as a lyricist, because her songwriting has definitely matured alongside her life experiences,
It has. It's really interesting to trace her growth from those early days where she was writing these heartfelt, almost diary-like songs, to the more complex narrative she explores now. You can hear her growth as a person in her music.
It's like she's growing up in public, and we're all watching.
I know.
But what's striking to me is her ability to capture those universal emotions. Love, heartbreak, joy, anger, but in a way that feels so personal and relatable.
Right, it's like she's reading your diary.
Yes.
And putting your feelings into words.
Exactly.
She's amazing at that.
She has this knack for, crafting lyrics that are both specific but also universal.
Yes. And she uses these vivid images and metaphors that create such a strong sense of place and emotion. It makes it so easy to connect with her stories, even if your own experiences are totally different.
Totally. And she's not afraid to be vulnerable.
No.
She shares her own struggles and insecurities, which makes her even more relatable, more human.
Absolutely. It's like she's saying, hey, I go through this too.
Exactly. And that vulnerability is such a strength.
Totally.
It breaks down the walls between her and her fans, creates this sense of shared experience.
Yeah, they're in it together.
Okay, let's look at some of the key themes in her songwriting over the years. Where do we even begin?
Oh gosh, there's so much.
I know, right? Well, I guess we have to start with Love and Heartbreak. It's classic Taylor.
Right, it's her bread and butter.
Exactly. Those early albums like Fearless and Speak Now.
Oh, yeah.
They're full of young love, first kisses, and, the heartbreak that comes with it.
Right, that inevitable heartbreak.
It resonated so much with teenagers and young adults because they were experiencing those same things.
Absolutely. She was the soundtrack to our lives.
Yes. And as she matured, so did her songwriting. Red explored the complexities of love and loss with so much more depth and maturity.
Think about All Too Well.
Oh, heartbreaking.
I know, right? Or I Knew You Were Trouble.
Yes.
Those are considered some of her most powerful and heartbreaking songs.
For sure. I think Red was a turning point for her.
I agree.
Both musically and lyrically. The raw emotion, the storytelling, it felt like a step up.
Totally.
And then 1989, that's when she transitioned to that synth pop sound.
Right.
But even with that style shift, her lyrics still focused on relationships and finding love in the modern world.
Hmm.
Songs like Blank Space and Shake It Off.
Anthems?
I know, right? Anthems of self-love and empowerment.
Yeah, it was such a smart move, you know. She kept those core themes that her fans loved, but she wrapped them in this fresh, modern sound. And it worked. Like, 1989 was a massive success, and it proved she could evolve without losing her core identity.
For sure. Then, Reputation was an interesting turn.
Oh, yeah.
We see this darker, more introspective side to her songwriting.
Mm.
She's dealing with themes of betrayal, revenge, the pressures of fame.
It felt like a response to everything she was going through at that time, you know, all the scrutiny and public backlash.
Totally. It was like she was reclaiming her narrative, asserting her power.
Yes. And the music matched that. It had this darker, edgier sound.
Yeah. And then she surprised everyone with Folklore and Evermore.
Such a shift.
I know, right? She moved towards indie folk and atmospheric storytelling.
It was a departure from her previous work, but it felt so authentic.
It really did.
Folklore and Evermore, they're full of these fictional narratives and characters, but she still weaves in her own personal reflections so seamlessly. It's like she built her own world and we're all invited in.
I love that. And then with the re-recordings, she revisited her earlier work, but with this fresh perspective. And we got those from the vault tracks that gave us these little insights into her creative process.
I love those.
Right.
They're so cool.
It's not just a business move, it's a statement
Totally.
about artistic ownership and creative control. Like she's saying, this is my music and this is how I want it to be heard. It's so inspiring and you can't deny her impact. So how do you think she'll be remembered as a songwriter?
As one of the most influential of her generation, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
she connects with people so deeply. She's vulnerable, and she's constantly evolving. Like, she's set a new standard.
And she's inspired so many other songwriters.
Yeah.
And she's shown that you can achieve both critical and commercial success without compromising your artistic vision. And her lyrics, they've become part of our culture.
They have.
Think about how many people use Taylor Swift lyrics in everyday conversation or on social media.
It's true.
She's tapped into something universal, you know?
Yeah.
Her music will connect with people for years to come. It's timeless. All right, so we've explored her tours, the re-recordings, her evolution as a songwriter, but there's more to Taylor Swift than just music. In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore her cultural influence and how her impact extends to fashion, film, and philanthropy.
Ooh, I'm excited for that.
We'll see how she uses her platform to make a difference and why she's considered such a role model.
She's amazing.
All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
It's going to be fascinating to see what she does next.
Oh, totally. Okay, so you were saying something about Taylor's business savvy.
Oh, yeah. She's, like, incredibly smart when it comes to, you know, her career and her business decisions.
Which is, like, so important in the music industry today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially with, like, the way things are changing so rapidly with streaming and all that.
For sure, for sure.
It's not enough to just be talented anymore. You have to have a real understanding of the business side of things.
Totally. Speaking of talent, I think we need to talk about her evolution as a lyricist.
Oh, yeah. Her songwriting has definitely matured, hasn't it?
It has. It's really interesting to see how her life experiences have shaped her writing.
Definitely. You can, like, trace her growth. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like from those early days of like really heartfelt, almost diary-like songs to the more complex and nuanced stuff she's writing now. It's really cool to see how her perspective has evolved.
Yeah, it's like she's grown up in public.
Right. And we've all gotten to witness it through her music.
Exactly. It's so cool. And what's really striking to me is her ability to capture those universal emotions, you know,
Yeah.
like love, heartbreak, joy, anger, but in a way that feels so personal and relatable.
It's like she's reading our diaries.
Yes. And putting our feelings into words.
Seriously, she's amazing at that.
She is. She has this knack for crafting lyrics that are both specific and universal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like she uses these really vivid images and metaphors that create such a strong sense of place and emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And it allows listeners to connect with her stories on a really personal level, even if their own experiences are different, you know.
For sure. For sure.
And she's not afraid to be vulnerable, which I think is so important.
Right. It makes her seem so much more human, more relatable.
Absolutely. She shares her struggles, her insecurities. It's like she's saying, hey, I go through this stuff too.
Exact.
And that vulnerability is such a strength, I think.
It is. It breaks down those walls between her and her fans. It creates this sense of shared experience.
Yeah, like they're in it together, going through it all together.
Okay, so let's dive into some of the key themes that have emerged in her songwriting over the years. Where do we even start?
Oh my God, there's so much to talk about.
I know, right?
Like, where do we even begin?
Well, I guess we have to start with Love and Heartbreak, right?
Right, classic Taylor
Oh,
territory.
I know, it's like her bread and butter.
It is.
Okay, so those early albums, Fearless, Speak, now they're full of those classic themes, young love, first kisses, and of course, the heartbreak that often comes with it.
Right, that inevitable heartbreak. It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, and those songs resonated so much with teenagers and young adults because they were experiencing those same things.
Exactly. She was literally writing the soundtrack to our lives.
Totally. And as she matured, her songwriting matured too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, think about Red. That album explored the complexities of love and loss with so much depth and maturity. It's like a whole other level.
It is. It's like she really tapped into something there.
Yeah, songs like All Too Well and I Knew You Were Trouble, and they're just like so raw and powerful.
They are. Red was definitely a turning point for her, both musically and lyrically.
I agree.
Like, it was a step up in terms of, like, the maturity and the depth of her writing.
Totally.
And then, of course, we have 1989, which was this huge transition to a more synth pop sound.
Yeah. Yeah, she really embraced that 80s vibe.
She did.
But even with that shift in style, her lyrical themes still revolved around relationships and like finding love in the modern world, Songs like Blank Space and Shake It Off, they became like anthems.
Oh, totally. Anthems of self-love and empowerment.
I know, right? It's like she kept those core themes that her fans loved, but she wrapped them in this fresh, modern sound.
Exactly. And it was so smart. It showed that she could evolve as an artist without losing her core identity.
Yeah.
Which is like so important.
Totally. And then Reputation, that was a really interesting turn, I think.
Ooh, yeah.
It felt darker, more introspective. She was tackling themes of betrayal, revenge, and like the pressures of fame.
Yeah, and it felt like such a direct response to everything she was going through at that time.
Right, like all the scrutiny, the public backlash.
Yeah, it was like she was reclaiming her narrative, asserting her own power.
Exactly. And the music matched that. It had this darker, edgier sound.
It did. It was like she wasn't holding back anymore.
Totally. And then she surprised everyone with Folklore and Evermore.
Oh my God, such a curveball.
I know, right? It was like she just completely shifted gears again.
She did. It was so unexpected.
Yeah, she moved towards indie folk and atmospheric storytelling.
Yeah, and it felt so authentic, so raw, like she was really stripping everything back.
It was a departure from her previous work, but it felt so genuine.
Right, like you could really feel her in those albums.
And then with the re-recordings, she revisited her earlier work, but with this fresh perspective and those from the Vault track.
Oh, those from the Vault tracks.
They're so cool. It's like getting these little glimpses into her creative process, seeing how her songwriting has evolved.
Totally. And the whole re-recording thing, it's not just about the music,
Yeah, it's a statement.
It's a statement about artistic ownership, creative control. It's her saying, this is my music, and this is how I want it to be heard.
Exactly. It's so inspiring, and it's hard to deny her impact,
She's changed the game, for sure.
So how do you think she'll be remembered as a songwriter?
Oh, wow. That's a big question.
I know, right?
I mean, she's already considered one of the most influential songwriters of her generation. And I think that will only solidify over time.
Yeah.
Her ability to connect with people on such a deep personal level, her willingness to be vulnerable, and her constant evolution as an artist, it's all so inspiring.
For sure. And she's inspired so many other songwriters, and she's proven that you can achieve both critical acclaim and commercial success without compromising your artistic vision.
Absolutely. And her lyrics, they've become part of our cultural vocabulary, Like, think about how many people use Taylor Swift lyrics in everyday conversation or on social media. It's crazy.
I know. It's like she's tapped into something universal, something that resonates with people on a really deep level.
Totally. And I think her music will continue to connect with people for generations to come.
Yeah, it's timeless.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've explored her tours, the re-recordings, her evolution as a songwriter. But there's so much more to Taylor Swift than just the music,
Oh, yeah.
In the next part of our deep dives, we're going to explore her cultural influence and how her impact extends to fashion, film, and philanthropy.
Ooh, can't wait.
We'll see how she uses her platform to make a difference in the world and why she's considered such a role model for so many people.
She's incredible.
She is. All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
All right, welcome back to our Taylor Swift deep dive. We've talked about her music, her career moves, and now let's explore how her influence reaches beyond, like, the stage and the recording studio.
Oh, yeah, she's a full-blown cultural icon.
She really is. Like, she's a fashion trendsetter. She uses her platform for good.
She's everywhere. It's kind of wild how much she influences trends, like in fashion, beauty, even literature.
It's true. Okay, let's talk fashion first.
Her style evolution has been so fun to watch. We've seen her go from, like, those early country looks to, like, red carpet glamour and the more recent, like, bohemian vibes.
And the thing is, her style always matches her music,
Yeah, it's like another way for her to express her artistry.
Exactly. It's a visual language that goes with the tone of her music. Like, each era has its own aesthetic.
And the Swifties are always right there with her, like, embracing each new look.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing.
They're showing up at concerts in themed outfits, analyzing every detail of her wardrobe. It's crazy.
It's true. And her fashion choices turn into viral trends.
That's the power of a trendsetter. Designers are paying attention. Magazines are dissecting her looks.
She's a fashion icon, no doubt.
And she's dipped her toes into film, too.
A little bit.
Starring in, Valentine's Day and, well,
Now, Cats?
Cats was, well,
He was something else.
we'll just say it was an experience. But, her music has been in so many movies and TV shows.
Oh, yeah, there's a reason for that. Her songs tell stories. They evoke emotions. It's almost like they're meant for film.
And speaking of storytelling through film, we can't forget about the All Too Well short film.
Oh, my God, yes.
Her directorial debut.
So good.
It was stunning. It captured all the emotion of that song perfectly.
She's a natural storyteller, no matter the medium. She's got a talent for it.
Okay, let's talk about something that's close to Taylor's heart. Philanthropy and activism.
This is important to her.
She's so generous with her time and money, and she always speaks up for what she believes in.
She's supported so many amazing causes like education, disaster relief, LGBTQ+ rights. She never stops.
Yeah, and she's always pushing for artists' rights and gender equality.
She walks the walk and talks the talk.
Exactly. Remember when she donated to the Nashville Symphony after those floods back in 2010?
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
It helped them rebuild and keep making music.
It showed how much she cares about her hometown and the arts, especially in tough times.
She doesn't shy away from tough topics either. She speaks out against injustice, uses her platform to inspire change.
She leads by example, shows her fans that they can make a difference too.
She makes activism feel accessible.
Yeah, like everyone can participate.
So to wrap up our Taylor Swift deep dive, it's clear she's more than just a singer-songwriter.
Oh, way more.
She's a cultural powerhouse. She's a fashion icon, a filmmaker, a philanthropist, an activist. It's incredible.
She's a force of nature.
She is. What do you think is the key to her success? Like, how does she have this kind of influence that goes so far beyond just music?
I think it's a few things. Her talent is undeniable, but she's also a smart businesswoman. She's not afraid to change and evolve, and she genuinely connects with her fans.
That connection is so important.
It's everything. She's not afraid to be herself, to be vulnerable, to speak her mind.
And her fans love her for it.
They do. They really respect and trust her, and that kind of bond, you can't fake that.
That's something you earn?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's earned it through hard work, dedication, and by understanding what it means to connect with people on a deep level.
Well, that brings our deep dive to a close. We've covered her music, her career, her impact, her philanthropy.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. I hope you enjoyed this journey with us.
Me too.
And remember, this deep dive was created just for you, but there's always more to explore. Keep listening to Taylor's music. See what other insights you find.
She's full of surprises.
She is. Until next time, keep diving deep.